Hi everyone, Patrick Shine, Director of Golf at Doylestown Country Club inside the beautiful TrackMan simulator area at the club. And what we're doing today is starting our video series of helpful hints and tips. As we coach and teach, we see a lot of common faults. And what we're going to do is put a series together that will identify those faults and ways to fix them. So the most common things we see, we're going to address them item by item, and we're going to capture those in a special area on the website that you can refer back through the course of the season. And if you find something that you're having trouble with, you should be able to click that subtopic and hopefully find a tip or a lesson that will help you improve. All right, today we're going to talk about the start of the golf swing, the takeaway. And I do see kind of two primary mistakes that get players off course right away in their golf swings and puts them in instant recovery mode. And so much of what we're doing in your golf swing can be remedied by a better takeaway. One of the most common things we see is on the takeaway. Now this stick is in the ground into this little device at 65 degrees, which is a very similar lie angle to the 7-iron I have in my hands. You know, plus or minus 2 to 3 degrees, but it kind of gets to the point. What I'll do is sole the club kind of almost as if I'm putting the shaft into the ground to match the stick. As I mentioned, one of the most common things I see as a mistake is players get the club working underneath the plane line. That forearms will swing out and the club will work behind, and we create this big space in here. The club face starts to open a bit, but more importantly, the club's going behind a player, so if they don't lift their arms to save it, the golf swing will look like this, which it doesn't. So if you see a player with a very long backswing, it's usually predicated on the club getting behind the player. They lift to save it, and that causes kind of excess, length into the backswing, which does not produce any more distance. In fact, will cause lack of rotation in your chest and back area. And again, chest and back rotation super necessary as the clubs get longer. Pitching wedge 9-iron, you don't need to necessarily turn your chest as much because the lever is so short and there's enough loft in it. But as we get to longer clubs like 5-irons or even the driver, we have to have chest turn. It is almost impossible to have your arms lift and your chest rotate. So what we're recommending on a takeaway feel would be that as I make the backswing, my hands are actually going to work slightly inside, but my wrists are working vertically. So as my hands work inside, a couple of things are happening. I'm keeping a little bit more pressure between my bicep and my left chest. And notice my hands are underneath the plane line, but the club head is above it, right? Also, if you take a look at the club face, it's slightly angled down, so the face is nice and square. So this is the feel we'd want, is the connectivity in here and the club face and the club head staying above the stick. From there, I'm going to kind of push the grip and push the handle away and rotate my chest and back to the top. So a couple things that are happening here. Face is very square, and I've also created a nice amount of width into my backswing. What we don't want to see is we lift, we lose our shape into the golf swing. So in order to hit the golf ball, we'd have to refine that spacing we started with. So again, the feel for the takeaway would be hands working more in and the club working more vertically. This is something, just this little movement here will kind of get you set up for success. Again, the finish from that would be to continue pushing. You'll see the club will start to hinge up my trail forearm. And again, I'm allowing my right side or my right shoulder blade to move more toward the target. So my sternum is looking against kind of the back wall. A nice thing about being in the studio is we have some parameters or some obstacles we can work around. This is a nice padded area, and I use this often in my lessons. Because, obviously statically with the stick in the way, that's great. But what we want to do is kind of create the feel so we can do it a little bit more dynamically. So what I recommend for a 7-iron is getting about a handful away from the wall with your rear end. Kind of get that nice posture, so we're nice in position there. And same feels. Hands are working more in, slightly in more that way, but the club head again is staying out in front of my, you can see it's outside my left forearm on the takeaway. And then from there, I'm going to continue to push and rotate away. So I'm avoiding the wall. So often I would see players, if they did this right away, they're going to hit that wall and the club gets too far behind them and a lot of bad things happen. So the feel we'd want to create, hands working in and rotating above. Key piece here, the wall avoidance by itself isn't enough because, for example, I could just lift my arms up and I'm avoiding the wall. We want to make sure that we get this deep chest and back turn, that your sternum is facing away from the target. So again, hands work in. And we turn to the top. Again, chest is rotated fully, and I've avoided the wall. one small add-on, if you're a slicer of the golf ball, or if you swing into yourself, you know, a little bit of a slice, a feel we'd want to create as we add a little bit onto this session would be hands working in club above. The feeling might be more of a drag down the wall with the club head. Slicers so often would open their chest early and the club head would come away from the wall and then swing down. So if you're a slicer of the golf ball, add this piece to it where you feel like, again, arms are, club head's falling down the wall. That's going to get that club coming more from the interior. Will create more powerful golf shots. You should see great results from that. So hopefully that helps, and come see us for a lesson if you need more help, and look forward to seeing everyone soon.